early takeaways. It's still early, very, very early, but just some things that kind of surprised me, especially like with Portland, the Pelicans. Portland, they need to amp it up on defense, and they can't rely on Lillard and CJ McCollum to just give them all their offense. I think that's basically the issue with them. They've really been one-dimensional offensively, and when you look at the New Orleans Pelicans, they had a lot of guys from Drew Holiday to Anthony Davis giving you big scoring numbers, great defense. It was a very entertaining game. It was basically a little shocking to me that they would give up game one on their floor. But then I thought about it. I said the Blazers will win in 6. So that makes all the sense because the Blazers don't have that experience of closing out teams properly. They haven't done it since, I want to say, the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets back when it was Dwight Howard and James Harden. So they haven't had a steady diet of closing out teams consistently. They just don't, I don't know what it is. They just can't or won't do it. But Lillard's going to play better. I know CJ McCollum's going to play better. They have to stop. If they're not getting threes, they got to crash. They got to attack the basket. Number one thing, you attack the basket. Sometimes you got to start inside, then go work your way out, not out. And the Pacers were able to take game one from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, LeBron has won 21 straight first-round openers, 21-0. Since last time he lost a game one is 2012 when he was on the Heat. I gotta tell you, man, even though it's just one game, I don't like the Cavs' energy. I don't like their game plan. And LeBron had a triple-double, and it didn't matter because they still lost by like 17 points. It got blown out. LeBron's season is rearing its ugly head on the Cavaliers, where the whole season has been about LeBron's greatness. LeBron eclipsing people's numbers, passing up stars and passing up legends. And now, when it's time for winning time, nobody else is coming to make a play because they're all dependent on LeBron to give them that boost. And that's the problem. When you make the entire season about one man, what happens to the team? And a lot of people don't understand this, but when it comes to like wolves, think about a pack of wolves. The strength of the pack is the wolves, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. And I think Cleveland has lost that whole mentality. And another thing you got to factor in as well, they're not getting any scoring from anybody else. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I don't know if they're calling any plays for anybody else. They're just basically putting LeBron out top as per usual and trying to dribble in the paint and pick and roll it to death and get some numbers. It's not going to work. That's not going to work on experienced teams. The Pacers, they're much more mature now than what they used to be. They got rid of Paul George, and you think they'll falter, but they didn't. And the funny thing is, if Paul George was there, they probably would have blown that whole lead, which they did kind of blow the lead, but they were able to sustain it. Victor Oladipo, man, he played a big game, had like 32 points, ridiculous numbers. And just the way he was abusing them on the switching with the pick and roll, that was nasty. That was real nasty. That was real nasty. I got to give him a lot of credit. Got to give Lance Stevenson a lot of credit because he's one of the few guys that actually try to guard LeBron physically. That was a good win for them. They got the split. That's all you want in a series. You want the split. Technically, this doesn't change my theory about what's going to happen in the series because I had the series basically going to the Cavs in 5. They just need to play great defense. But right now, I don't see the defense. And people are saying, well, let Tristan Thompson play or whatever the case. I don't think Tristan Thompson will make a big difference, especially with the issues going on with the cheating scandal or whatever. I don't think that's going to help them. Because it wasn't like the rebounding was the problem. It was just getting back on defense. It was the switching. It was just the communication, the stagnant offense. Tristan Thompson's not going to do anything like that. Maybe he'll give you extra body. Spurs, Warriors, I was surprised that the Warriors blew them out in such a fashion. I thought it would be like a 10-point win, a 7-point win, a little bit closer. But, Stephen A. made a big point about this. The second highest scorer on the San Antonio Spurs is Rudy Gay. He averages about 11 points. If that's your second highest scorer that averages 11 points, good luck with any series. Good luck winning any series, point blank period. Not going to happen against the Warriors, especially with their defense and their offensive talent. Clay finally kind of found his legs. That's the thing about Clay, which is kind of hard to understand. he disappears and he reappears. He disappears and he reappears. But the thing is, it's not like a lot of his shots went down. You know what I'm saying? I think he shoots like 13 shots a game. It used to be like 15. Like, I mean, it's not like crazy. So I know it's kind of tougher for him to get in the rhythm. I think him taking a challenge on defense, especially like a Patty Mills, quicker guys, and locking them up is going to get him amped and play a lot better. But overall, you know, that's not even really a series to talk about. Unless if the Spurs don't win the next game, I mean, have the Warriors in 5, pardon me, Warriors in 5, then guess what? It's going to be a sweep. And I don't want to see that for San Antonio. I think they have a lot more pride, or whatever the case is. But if they can't make a competitive game 2, or can get a game on 3 win, then it's a sweep. Bucks Celtics game 1. I felt like the Bucks really blew an opportunity to get a series split on, you know, take the home court advantage away. And Celtics showed a great deal of resolve. They showed they could play basketball without Kyrie Irving. Hey guys, we're not that inept offensively where we can't score with basketball. They really proved that. Jaylen Brown played a great game. Jason Tatum, but Terry Rozier, man, his clutchness is ridiculous. Clutch out the building. It's out the building, man. He's earning his money. Like, I don't know if he's in the contract year or not, but if the Celtics don't want to re-sign him in the future or whatever, he's already made it. Got the bang for his buck or whatever. He's very underrated, and that was a wild game down the stretch. I wasn't able to see the whole entire game in its entirety live, but when I watched it all over again, it was just like, dang. But the Bucks, they blew this because they just make poor decisions with the basketball. And at some point, you have to stop saying they're a young team, young this, young that. They got a lot of guys, too, that's veterans, too. You know what I'm saying? Like, Giannis he's young, but he's still kind of a vet. Middleton is a vet. Jason Terry's a vet. Jason Kidd is a vet in terms of knowing the game and everything like that. So can't keep making all these excuses for them. You know, it honestly, I hate to say this, I hate to call for anybody's job. If they can't win the next game, they really have to and win the series, you know what I'm saying, not make it like a 7-game series. If they could win this in 6, but if they can't, they have to think about replacing the head coach or personnel. Maybe get a different defensive coach, or or bring in somebody else, somebody else like a consultant, like a Steve Nash, because they have all the talent, man. You can't be losing games like this without Kyrie Irving playing. Minnesota Rockets, Timberwolves, and the Houston Rockets. That's how I feel. Like, Timberwolves had a lot of opportunities to win the game. I know James Harden was on fire. He had like 40-some points. He was like burning them up, flaming them. But one of the key things that I saw with the Timberwolves, these guys can't make simple passes. 2 hands. If your feet in the post, put the ball over your head. They teach you when you're young. I don't know if they teach you now. You throw it in the post. You fake the pass, then you throw it in the post. Something simple. It's very, very simple. It's not nothing complicated, nothing crazy, or nothing like that. Jeff Teague couldn't make that simple pass. Andrew Wiggins couldn't make that simple pass. A lot of times, Taj Gibson was put in situations where it wasn't his fault, where he was making bad passes because they were giving him the ball like close to the 3-point line. He doesn't know what to do with that. So it was like a teaching moment for Tom Thibodeau and his crew to see, hey, we got to make better adjustments in terms of all this, especially like guarding James Harden, guarding Chris Paul. A lot of times on a pick and roll, especially with Clint Capella, why don't you just double James Harden on the pick and roll? You guys have length. Make him make a tough pass to Clint Capella and make Clint Capella the decision maker. The thing is with the Timberwolves, they weren't really disrupting Houston's offense until like late in the third. And then once they started getting a little bit of lead, of course they can't score because they're not passing it inside to the guy like Towns. Like, he had a mismatch every single play. Every time Timberwolves ran a pick and roll, he had a mismatch because Houston was switching everything, which is crazy. And nobody could make an entry pass. So over the next course of the couple of days, they need to work on making entry passes. They need to work on simple passes, simple things. They need to work on simple things. And defensively, they have to double Harden. You have to double Harden. You have to make other guys be playmakers. Because if you watch the entire game, a lot of the role players struggled mightily. I think they missed like 26 threes tonight. So they took like at least 40 some threes. If you could get them to repeat that, take as many threes, but you keep the ball out of James Harden's hands, you have a higher chance of winning the game. The game was there for the taking. They only lost 104 to 101, and that's simply because they couldn't make simple entry passes. I just kept everybody was saying Chris Webber to Shaq to Charles Barkley. Everybody kept saying the same thing. Like, look, bro, pass it inside. You guys have the mismatch, and if they get swept in the series, they have to blame Jeff Teague and Andrew Wiggins, because those were the two main guys I saw that could not make an entry pass. And here's the thing about Jeff Teague. You're a good player in the NBA, but you're not a star, dog. If you got a one-on-one matchup, but you see the second best player, Karl Anthony Towns, has a more favorable matchup, give him the ball. You do not deserve the ball in that instance. Give it to the guy that's the second best player, second option on the team. If Jimmy Butler had plenty of option times where he had Chris Paul on him in the post, you guys didn't get him the ball. It makes no, and you're the point guard. You know what I'm saying? Andrew Wiggins, I don't even know what you were doing half the time, trying to snake dribble and just making foolish mistakes. And it's a teacher moment, because, you know, they haven't been in the playoffs in a long time. So I look for them to make a good adjustment. But one of the adjustments, you got to get the ball out of James Harden's hands. Make somebody else beat you other than James Harden, because James Harden proved he could beat you easily. Okay, see, Utah Jazz. Hey, man, I like the way Utah came out with a lot of fire, a lot of fervor. You got to respect everything that they did. And, you know, it was a nice game in the beginning. And then, you know, OKC picked up themselves. Paul George was on fire, 8 for 11 from 3. He took it personally, everything I was saying. He kept talking to the Utah bench. Whoever was talking to him, shame on you. You cost your team that game, because if Paul George didn't wake up, Utah would have won that game. Donovan Mitchell was balling like crazy, like 27 points. That boy was nasty until, you know, he got hurt or whatever the case is. Somebody stepped on his foot. Brewer stepped on his foot. He twisted his ankle. But it was, oh man, that was great. That's how you want to come out. You know, they gave OKC basically a scare, but Westbrook, it was too much. But here's the thing. OKC still find their identity even through the playoffs. And I must say this. There were a lot of opportunities where Utah, I'm not going to say it's youth. I'm going to say if they made better decisions, they could have kept it more lower scoring, and they could actually pull out that game in certain instances. But down the stretch, it got out of hand. Melo got hot. Paul George got hot. You know, sometimes when guys get hot, that it is what it is. There's nothing else you could do about it. But I am going to say this. I don't see this where OKC has them figured out. They don't have them figured out. Don't think that by any chance of the imagination. You know, it was just like down the stretch, especially in the third quarter, Utah kind of faltered on his defensive principles, and offensively, it got too much into like one-on-one. Like, they started kind of trying to keep pace, and that's not what's gonna work. Play your game. So, but I have this a 7-game series. I have OKC eventually winning. I hope it does go back and forth, because those two teams, even though OKC has more talent, it's not like a huge gap like how everybody thinks.